Hey there, are you grieving the potential loss of a loved one or feeling overwhelmed with the loss of someone you care about? If so, you're in the right place. Lisa Hartung here, and this podcast is designed to guide you through topics surrounding death and dying. We'll dive into multifaceted aspects of grief, offering you a blend of personal stories, expert insights, and practical advice for your grief journey. May this be a safe space for you to learn, listen, and ask questions about your own life and loved ones. So grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I've been thinking of you this week, especially as in the US, we just celebrated Thanksgiving. I know that that can be a really challenging holiday for people in general. Just the holiday time can be a stressful event. And if you are grieving, either anticipatory grief or you've recently lost a loved one, it can be really, really challenging. And even if you didn't recently lose a loved one, I lost my mom 3 years ago, and the night before Thanksgiving, I cried quite a bit. I was just feeling this great sense of loss and sadness. You know, she was one of five. And so Thanksgivings were always huge. Each of her siblings, three of her siblings had kids. Our Thanksgivings on the Doak side of the family were always huge and so full of light and life. And, you know, everyone, all of the cousins now are all grown up and we rarely see each other, which I think I mentioned a week or two ago that we had an impromptu Doak family Thanksgiving up in Maine a couple weeks ago, which was super fun. But every time Thanksgiving comes around, I think of my mom and how much she really, really loved the holiday and how it was all about bringing people together, and community is everything. So just know that I was thinking of everyone as we were heading into the holiday this past week, and how it's really hard. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. And so I woke up on Thanksgiving morning and I was shaking with, I don't know, grief or anxiety. I looked at my husband and I was like, I have to make cookies. And he was like, we're leaving to go to Thanksgiving dinner in just a couple hours. Like, why are you going to make cookies? And I was like, I have to for my mom. And I baked Grammie's molasses cookies. They're a hit whenever I do. And I sold them earlier this month to raise money for Project Purple, Pancreatic Cancer Research. And so I was like, yep, I'm going to make them for the Thanksgiving meal as well. And so, you know, baking for me has always been cathartic and part of my grief journey and really helps me heal. So I baked cookies, and then after that I was like, yep, I'm going for a run. So you can get the kids ready for the day. I need this for myself. And I think it's especially important on holidays when you are feeling like you can't do anything because there is so much grief. Give yourself grace. You know, take a step back. Just get outside. Doing something that you love is so important too. I just knew that for myself, I had to do that before we left for our Thanksgiving meal. And for those that know me, I always try to do too many things in a short period of time. And yep, Thanksgiving morning was that. And I did bake the cookies. I did go for the run. We did make Thanksgiving on time, and we were actually early, which was great. My husband does a little thing where he just tells us that we have to leave 30 minutes or 15 minutes before we actually do, so that late Lisa, or last minute Lisa, can catch up. So things worked out on Thursday for Thanksgiving, and so that was a personal triumph. Wednesday night, I was so overcome with grief. Thursday morning, I woke up shaking with anxiety, did baking, did running, and then had a beautiful day with my husband's family and the cousins. And it was just such a joy to see our kids playing with their cousins and, you know, just having family present. And there's just something so magical about that. And I know that every family has, you know, their ups, downs, and all arounds, but it's just really nice to spend time together. So I'm grateful for that. And then that night I was journaling, and realized, from in that 24-hour span, how riddled with grief I was the night before and how full I felt after moving through my grief on the day to then being able to say and reflect on the day and say, you know what, I'm really grateful for the time that we did have. And I did, holiday tradition was the Christmas poppers or the crackers, where you pop them open and there's a crown, there's a joke, and there's a little toy. So this year I had my daughter help me pick out which Christmas poppers we were going to bring. And we started that tradition with my husband's side of the family. So that will be something that Auntie Lisa brings to the meal. And I encourage listeners to try it too. It's super fun. Home Goods had a great deal on poppers. I think they were $13.99 for 12 poppers. And they were all recyclable materials, which I also, you love doing the poppers and getting the prizes, but sometimes they're plastic or metal and you're like, I'm just going to throw this away. So it's great to have like origami or games that were made of paper. So I digress. But Thanksgiving was fun, reflected on it, very grateful. And then Black Friday, I knew that I needed some retail therapy because I've been working on my day job a lot. And so my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law and I went shopping, and it was really wonderful just to have some girl time and some just sisterhood, because that's something that I don't usually get, especially because my sister lives in Maine, I live in North Carolina, and my mom's not around anymore. And so I don't get that maternal time. And so I'm grateful for my mother-in-law for sharing that with me. This podcast is being released on November 30th, which is the last day of Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. So if you're wondering like, oh, oftentimes pancreatic cancer is not caught until the symptoms have progressed. And at that point in time, oftentimes it's caught at stage 4, and sometimes the tumors are inoperable. So just some things to keep in mind from the pancreatic cancer front. Key symptoms. If you were jaundice, one thing that my mom had was abdominal and back pain. So she thought she had been building a stone wall, like a rock wall in landscaping our garden. And she thought, oh, I pulled a muscle and I just need to go in to the doctor to figure it out. They told her, oh, you pulled a muscle. They gave her muscle relaxants. And she was like, gosh, oh, those aren't working. And like 3-4 weeks later, she's still having back pain. And they're like, oh yeah, your muscle's still, do you need any more muscle relaxants? And she was like, no. So that's something to like keep in mind. And then if there's unexplained weight loss, which, that could be a lot of different things too. Or if you're having digestive issues, bloating, nausea, vomiting, indigestion, diarrhea. And then going back on the back pain, sometimes it can start in the upper abdomen and then spread to the back. And then sometimes it's worsening. It worsens after you eat or when you're lying down. So things to think about. This is, again, like pancreatic cancer symptoms can look like so many other issues, or they can look like really menial issues. And you're like, oh, not a big deal. But if you're seeing these persistence, please go and see someone. Other symptoms. So if there's changes in your stools, pale, greasy, foul-smelling stools that are difficult to flush, changes in your urine, if it's dark-colored urine, if you are fatigued, if you're unusually tired for a long period of time, you're like, that's weird. Loss of appetite, or if you have itchy skin, which can be associated with jaundice. So those are just some things to think about. Again, my mom had back pain and she was like, yeah, I've been out in the garden. I've been landscaping. Of course I have back pain, but it went on and on and on. And then she was having troubles with her digestive system and her GI tract. I would say she was sick for probably 6 months. And there were so many little things that we didn't know. And I kept on recording them and being like, gosh, what is the common factor here? And we asked for an MRI. They said, oh, no, you don't need an MRI. And then we asked for another MRI. And they said, oh, yeah, we'll get you one. And then we needed endoscopy and a colonoscopy just to check all of the things. And as soon as they did scan, they were like, oh yeah, you have a huge mass on your pancreas. Oh yeah, and it's inoperable. Had we been more forceful in the beginning to get some scanning done, then, perhaps you would still be with us. So this is just a PSA. If you have any of the symptoms that I've talked about, if anything is out of the ordinary, please, please, please go and get scanned. You are your best self-advocate. So thank you so much for all of the donations to Project Purple, and you're making the world for pancreatic cancer patients so much better, and their families. And so we are in this together, thinking of all of you, especially as we head into the holidays. And so let's talk about today. Today is the first day of Advent. So growing up, I went to a congregational church, and I've always been a spiritual person. And one thing that I now, after having lost my mom, really gravitate toward is taking Advent and making it something that I can cherish with my kids, but also it's helpful for me on my grief journey. And so I would love for you to come along and work on your grief journey, and we can do this together. So the theme for this year's Advent calendar is thinking about how do we make meaning out of our memories. And so the idea is that we think about small moments that we can honor the past, we can feel the present, right? Because the only thing we have is right now, right? The past already happened, the future has yet to come. So we have right now. How do we be present throughout the holidays? And then how do we grow hope for the future? The Advent calendar is always just a way to share stories and share about our loved ones, exchange love with one another, be in community. And then also, I would love for you to journal along with me and really make this be part of your grieving experience. This week, we're going to kick off week 1 of the 2025 Advent calendar with the theme of honoring and remembering our loved one. So we want to celebrate the memories that have shaped us. The journal prompt for the week is, what is a memory that still feels close to your heart, and how did it change you? So again, I'll repeat that. The journal prompt for the week is, what is a memory that still feels close to your heart, and how did it change you? As an added little fun thing, Advent calendars were something that my mom and I always did together as a kid. And so this is really meaningful to me. A memory that still feels close to my heart is our Advent calendars came in many forms. And one of the most meaningful was a garden Advent calendar. And so we would find moss that had fallen off. We wouldn't go and rip it up, but we would go out for walks in the woods, and we would find little pieces of moss, and then we would create a terrarium. We would spritz it with water so that all of the moss could stay moist throughout the month of December. And then every morning, the fairies would have come overnight and put something in our terrarium, our moss-covered garden, that was magical. So maybe it was a crystal, or maybe it was a little heart rock, or maybe it was a twig that was super cute and made a little Y, or maybe it was a little wooden or glass creature that my mom had sold at her shop that could have fit in our terrarium. And so every day was something fun. That is a memory that still feels close to my heart. And it changed me because, again, it was just the surprise and delight of the season as we were going toward Christmas and just thinking about all of the joys. So this is November 30th. If you haven't thought about an Advent calendar, if you don't want to go out and buy one, this is a great way to celebrate the holidays by going outside, going for nature walks with your loved ones, collecting really cool sticks or pine cones or stones or little crystals, anything that really is joyful, that's a natural thing. Again, so you're not creating waste, you're just using organic pieces that are already around us. So that's super fun. Maybe it's a cute little leaf or a pine cone. That's part of the journal prompt for the week. And then also, if you're like, you know what, I am not a journaler, then you can do this and do like a voice memo and just tell your story. Maybe you want to share it with one of your loved ones who might also be grieving the loss of this person, or maybe you want to bring someone along your grief journey and let them know how you're feeling. This could be a really cathartic experience for you as well. If you want to do an action instead of doing a voice memo or journaling, I always like handwriting because I just think it helps empty your mind, and that, we have that monkey mind, and then get your thoughts on paper. But if you don't want to do that, there's also an action. So the thought of this week is, many people, I don't know if you do Christmas trees or if you celebrate Christmas, but some people put Christmas trees up on October 1st. Some people put Christmas trees up on November 1st. And some people are like, no, we can't do anything until after Thanksgiving. My husband is very much of like, hey, we need to have Thanksgiving first and then we can have a Christmas tree. So we usually get our Christmas tree the weekend after Thanksgiving. So we got our Christmas tree this weekend, and one part of that is ornaments. And so part of my shopping on Black Friday with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law was to look for ornaments. So every year we have an ornament that kind of sums up the year that we've had, or maybe it was a really special trip that we went on, and so we bring an ornament back to put on our tree. So we have a tree of memories. This is not a themed tree. If someone came to us, they would be like, wow, that's your tree. And so if you do have a beautifully curated tree, I applaud you. They are absolutely stunning. I think so highly of people that do have those. We, on the other hand, have a memory tree, and it doesn't look great to other people, but it fills my heart with joy. And that's all that matters because it's in our house. So regardless of what you do, just know that it's good to celebrate in a way that makes it meaningful to you. The action is add a memory ornament to a tree or a keepsake box. So maybe you have a box of memories of your loved one. So I wanted to share, I have today, for those of you watching, this is a little puffin ornament that I got, and there's a little flag on it, and it says Port Clyde, Maine, August 2022. I always like to put the date on the ornament so that we know, years down the road, when did we actually do this event? And then I like to usually say what it was about, and it says Mimi's Puffin Tour. So while my mom was sick, so this was in August, she died in September. So this was our last big family event. We went on a puffin tour in Maine, which I'm from Maine, and I'd never seen Maine puffins before. And my goodness, they are the cutest little tiny birds. And so this is it's a cute little ornament, and I actually have it hanging in my office all year round. It's fun to put on the Christmas tree as well, so I can enjoy that or listen to that. So that is this week's episode of Giving Grief Grace. So we'll come back for every week of Advent this month. And if you want, you can send me an email and say, hey, I want to subscribe for the Advent calendar so that you can get daily journal prompts. So we can send out one email a week of, hey, here are the journal prompts for this week of Advent, so that you can, again, voice memo or write down your grieving process. We can't get around grief. We just can't get over it. The only way is to go through it. And so I really do think that this is a helpful exercise to have during the holidays. And even if you spend 1 minute on it, everyone has 1 minute to at least stop and think about this prompt. So I'll also be writing these on Instagram. So if you don't follow yet, Instagram handle is Giving Grief Grace. And then also on Facebook, Giving Grief Grace. We do have a private Facebook group for anyone who has lost someone that wants to be in the private group. And then we also have a public Facebook page. Please know that I am thinking of you. I am grieving alongside you. And this season is really, really tough. There's so much joy and magic in the season of Christmas. And I hope that together we can bring some of that magic alive. our loved one would want us to be happy, and they would want us to go explore and enjoy. So know that we can celebrate the past, right? We can honor the past. We can feel the present and fully enjoy it. And we can grow hope for the future. So, right, we are making meaning from our memories in this year's Advent. Thank you so much for coming along with me. I look forward to growing with you, for exploring this grief. And please, if anything comes up to you as you're journaling, let me know, DM me. I am here for you. If you need to hop on a call and do a one-on-one session and you just need to talk, I am here for you. Without further ado, I will let you all enjoy your beautiful day ahead. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you have a wonderful week. And thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. And we will see you next week. Enjoy.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Giving Grief Grace. If you found the content interesting and think it could help a friend or a loved one, please share it with them. Subscribe to this podcast and get a weekly dose of positivity. And while you're at it, please leave a review. If you enjoyed the show and want to support me financially on my grief journey, I'm raising funds for Project Purple, a nonprofit whose mission is to see a world without pancreatic cancer. I'm doing this by running the New York City Marathon in November 2025, and I'll leave a link to my fundraising page in the show notes. If you've lost a loved one and are looking for support in an online community, consider joining our free private Facebook group, Giving Grief Grace. May you be kind to yourself in the week ahead and give yourself grace. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.